Okay, Mary, we're going to start with you on the next question and just move this way like we did. Okay. Developers, by their nature, make many efforts to change the zoning and comprehensive plan requirements. As we've seen, residents are often opposed to their proposed plans. What are your views on balancing these interests?
We all have to understand that private property rights. If someone owns a piece of land and it's been vacant for a number of years, if it's zoned, that owner can develop that property according to the zoning. As the economy continues to improve, some people say yes, some people say no. But when a developer gets financing and he has a project he wants to bring forward and it meets the zoning, he's able to do that. I think the neighborhood meetings are very important, and this council actually changed up the process by which we go and talk to the neighbors now first, the developers do, rather than letting a plan get so far down the road in people's minds. We've actually had developments brought to the council where the neighbors have come in and said, we've worked this out for a whole year, this is they've met all our things, please approve it. When there's change afoot, and Mr. Hornet can address that.
The general plan actually provides us with some guidance on how to balance this. It says that you have a responsibility to mitigate any impacts that it has on the community and the folks who are adjacent to it. We do that with the ESLO, has been pointed out before. We do that with buffer yards that keep projects further away. We don't put certain projects next to other projects, whether that's commercial and housing. We try not to mix that. That's a guidance in the general plan. And just to follow up on Mary's neighborhood meetings, that is probably one of the single biggest thing that we've taken advantage of. We've seen developers walk away from a project because the neighbors have said it's not going to work here, and honestly, it wasn't going to work there. So, but it's so far early in the process. This is the first place that they get to voice their opinions before there's any formality and even before any papers are submitted formally to the town. Thank you.
As Mary pointed out, the zoning is on most pieces of land, and we're of course we must honor the zoning that exists. We're not that the town isn't at liberty to still willing to change things. We do get into situations we've seen where developers want to come in and build like on a slope, which they're not allowed to do without certain deviations. We've seen the case where the residents who have an absolute right to say, I know that property that's a slope and I bought not wanting it. Yet the developer has went out over the resident. And I don't feel that that's very citizen-centric when we're favoring developers over residents, when it's a clear case when they did not have to give the developer the permission to do that, particularly when the developer admitted he could put that house back on the piece of land very easily. So, yes, there is zoning. Yes, there's way around zoning based on the codes, but we need to be citizen-centric in how we decide how to apply the codes.
Okay, again, the plan is there for a reason. We have a beautiful community. It didn't just happen by accident. Again, it's a guidepost, etc. We do need developers. We do need to develop all kinds of housing in our communities. And I find that the interaction early on and well attended by neighborhoods does in fact have impact on what the development looks like. In many cases, I've personally been involved in meetings where neighbors make a good case. The developer who wants to have a constructive relationship with the neighbors will tend to listen. In those rare cases where you've got oil and water, somebody's probably going to walk away mad, but there's just so much at this point in time with the zoning and the general plans that you can do other than attend the meetings and try to get the best development out of the developer that's going to put together the project that you're concerned about.
And rezoning is tricky. It is trying to find that delicate balance between neighbors who are there as well as development for the town. Again, when you take away our largest tool that the most other municipalities across the country have, which is a property tax, you got to figure out, okay, how do you do this without a property tax? Because that's going to put a lot more hardship on a lot more people than a developer coming in and putting up rooftops and trying to generate sales tax and trying to generate more retail, because 50% of our sales tax goes into our town fund. And last year that was $11 million. So are there going to be instances where individuals are going to be perceived to get the short end of the deal? Absolutely. Because if I bought a house next to a vacant land, I don't want to see anything built there. But again, going back up to the 50,000 foot level, it's not just that piece, it's how that piece incorporates in the greater vision of the community at large. And sometimes the individuals lose out, but the community wins.
I'd just like to amplify some things that Joe said about the neighborhood meetings. That's one of the most creative and thoughtful decisions we made in having the community at the very outset of a proposal for a development just give their view of how they think it should go. And often, and very often, the developers and the project managers will change their view of what they're planning to do based upon what they're hearing at these neighborhood meetings. Now, the environmental sensitive land ordinance the mayor mentioned, that's a 10-year in the making ordinance that now is being processed as an opportunity to give us more open space in Oro Valley. Now, it's a zoning thing, that's a tight thing, but it's evolving. It's evolving slowly into the benefit of the community. We now can have more open space and rearrange the project itself because of that ordinance and with the permission of the neighbors.